After 35 years apart, two lifelong friends are reuniting to embark on an exciting journey of laughter, reflection, and heartfelt conversation. Welcome to the Reality Check podcast, where hosts Jen and Joe dive deep into the topics that matter most, exploring the nuances of life with humor and sincerity. Whether it's sharing personal anecdotes, tackling current events, or sparking thoughtful discussions, this dynamic duo promises to engage your emotions and challenge your perspectives. Join us as Jen and Joe reconnect and invite you into their world, where every episode is a chance to laugh, cry, and think a little deeper. Get ready for an unforgettable experience filled with warmth, wisdom, and a touch of nostalgia. This is the Reality Check podcast.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Reality Check podcast with Joe and Jen, or Jen and Joe because it's alphabetical. I am Jen, and joining me is my lovely co-host Joe. And this week, as promised, we have recruited our first guest. So we want to welcome Kathy to our show, and she is here to chat with us a little bit about some Messina nostalgia, and then join in our topic and conversation for today. So welcome, Kathy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kathy, for coming on. Before we get going with Kathy, we wanted to hit up a new opportunity for our podcast, which we're going to do National Days. So we're recording this on January 27th, which is the last Monday in January. And today is National Bubble Wrap Day. So if you weren't aware, it's super exciting. Things are popping. It's great. No pun intended by any means. And tomorrow, which will lead to a question, January 28th, is National Plan Your Vacation Day. It's the last Tuesday in January. So, ladies, where are you planning your vacation to?
Well, is it my real vacation or my dream vacation?
Well, for now, let's just do your dream vacation because you go on a lot of vacations. So I feel like if you do, you're on vacation right now as we speak. So it's,
Okay.
mentally, yes.
Fair point. So I am going to plan my vacation to Hawaii. And it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be like 10 days. And what's really going to happen is I'm probably going to end up in Myrtle Beach for a week. So either way, there's surf, there's sand, there's ocean. I can pretend. So that is where I would join, or that's where I would plan my vacation if I was doing that. However,
Love it.
Every year when we go on vacation, we literally decide where we're going and book everything about 4 days before we leave.
So January is not going to work for you, is what you're saying.
Not a planner over here. Nope.
All right. Well, I think you said last week Kathy is, so this will be great to hear. She's already got like her next.
She's already got the whole
planned
summer
out. Yeah.
Yep. Betcha.
Well, I mean, as a teacher, we like summer is like a big vacation, so we do a lot of like day trips. We're into camping, so we do a lot of camping trips. We're looking to plan a trip out west this summer, which we're still in like kind of the tentative planning stage on. Last year we did Disney, which was amazing. So I wouldn't mind going back there again.
Disney in Florida or California?
Florida. It was amazing. It was so great.
Was that your first time?
Sorry. No, I've been a bunch of times, but it was my husband and my daughter's first time. I am lucky enough to have some family that live in Orlando, so I had a chance to go there and to Universal quite a bit. And then, life and kids and work get in the way. So it had been maybe like 12 years since I'd been to Disney, but it's still magical.
That's awesome.
And it's just fun to see it through like your kids' eyes, right? Like all the firsts, And I did do an extensive amount of planning for that one. Like, so we could find all the, the hidden stuff and all the freebies and when you can find them there. Not a lot of freebies at Disney, but it was great.
If there were freebies to be had, this woman would have found them.
We found a few, so just a few.
So did you guys know how to tell where Disney World is and Disneyland is? I just heard this last week and I did not know it for 46 years of my life. How to differentiate between the two? Did you guys know that? So Disney
No.
World, ORL, Orlando, Disneyland, LA, Los Angeles.
Nice.
Mind
Wow.
blowing. Mind blowing. I didn't know that
I
till like
was
last week.
today years old when I found
Yeah,
that out.
I learned it last week. I was so excited. I was looking forward to sharing with somebody that didn't know.
So
Now
what are
you
we going to
know.
do with that information?
Not really sure, but now a lot of
Not
people
end
know.
We won't end up in the wrong place. No.
No. And when they're planning their vacation, they know which one to go to, so it'll be great.
Okay. Well, um, what about you, Joe?
I don't know. I'm not a vacation guy. Like I just get in the car and go. So it's not a planner. Like I don't know. My buddy has a cabin up in New Hampshire. I love that. It's nice and peaceful up in the mountains. It's away from reality in real life, right? Nobody can get a hold of you. So that's nice. I normally don't like things quiet, but sometimes it's nice just for a mental breakdown to just step away from reality and be peaceful and have time to think. And nobody can get a hold of me, which is great. Love it. So yeah, so that's exciting. January has Bubble Wrap Day and Plan Your Vacation Day all in the same week. So that's a great way to end January. Before we move on to Kathy, though, I promised. So this weekend I went on kind of a vacation. Went to Erie, Pennsylvania with girls 16U softball team that my daughter and I coach, and they somehow came across the podcast, and they asked for me to give them a shout out. So I'm going to say Rochester Lightning 16U Blue. Here is your shout out. I'm not going to go through all their names because that's just weird, but they had a really rough weekend playing softball, but a lot of fun at Splash Lagoon. So we'll take the win at Splash Lagoon. We'll take the not so wins on the fields and we'll get better. But shout out to the Rochester Lightning, 16U Blue, as promised. Um, and now we'll just have to kind of keep the episodes clean, definitely for the rest of the time, since, we don't want them knowing any secretive stuff, about Coach Joe. So, with that being said, Kathy, I need you to be inconspicuous for the start of your interview. So if you could put your sunglasses on so nobody knows who you are, that would be great. All right, thanks. So we are here today to follow up on a situation that happened last week. Ma'am, it's my understanding that you were being stalked in Wegmans by this lady named Jen. Can you tell me a little bit about that story?
Okay, so what I recall is that I ran into Jen in Wegmans, and then we followed up and had lunch. And then several times after, we just ended up in the same places. I'm not sure why, how it happened. Kind of chalked it up to like us, having kids around the same age, but we'd end up at the same like yard sales, community events, all sorts of stuff. Never actually filed a restraining order. So,
Oh,
but then I just decided, like with her superior detective skills, that I should just keep her on my good, like stay on her good side. So
yeah.
we started hanging out. She lives in the neighborhood, and yeah, so it works out.
So when you say you ran into her, did she physically run into you? Was there also an allegation of abuse while you were in Wegmans during that time, or just the restraining order that you failed to file?
I guess just the restraining order that I failed to file. It's like looking back at this retrospectively, because it's been maybe 10 years. I think I had just had my daughter when I ran into her. So I was kind of sleep deprived at the time. So I really couldn't like follow the chain, through it. But and now it's, hindsight's 2020. Like you just think like, wow, we just ended up at like a lot of the same places, same yard sales, like looking for the same bargains. Like I was there, she was there. So yeah, we just like Wegmans, we just were there at the same time.
Hate it is.
Yeah.
Not sure about the garage sales and stuff. I think that's a little weird, but to each their own. To each their own, I guess. Like if I show up at a
It's
garage sale
not
and Jen's,
weird.
yeah,
Not weird.
if I show up at a garage sale and you're there, I'm out. I'm like deuces. I'm like, what are you doing at the same garage sale? That's weird. I mean, it's weird. And look,
I'm trying to get the stuff before you
I
get
know
there and get it.
And
Kathy's
then
looking
I
for
just
the free
decided I should
stuff.
just go with her because if we were going to end up there anyway. So yeah.
Fair
So we
enough.
joined forces.
We
And we
did,
went
yeah.
together.
And you ripped
Mhm.
people off. Got it.
Yeah, and now, like, we watch the same sort of shenanigans going on in like the neighborhood groups and stuff. So if I'm missing some shenanigans, she'll send me a quick text like, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, so and so is so and so, and this, and this is why they're fighting." And because I can figure anything out, just give me like 6 minutes, and I've got the whole story.
She
That's what your
really
Bitmoji
can.
says. Yeah,
Yeah.
your Bitmoji says that. Very much
And
so.
it's true. It
Yeah.
is true. I can find anything out.
Well,
You both know this.
Yes.
well,
Yes.
that's how you found Kathy. We know it's all set. It wasn't accidental. You found her.
I mean, it is a little weird. She moved to like our area, like 3 streets over. Like I just keep thinking about that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how it happened, but
See.
we're glad it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. All right. So now the hard hitting question of the week
Can I take
before we
my
get into
sunglasses off?
you can now. Before we get into getting to know Kathy, Jen and I had a conversation last week about books and reading things or doing things that have specific dates on them. And Jen told me last week that she couldn't read the Bible because her Bible is mapped out to certain dates of the week or certain dates of the month. So, for example, today is January 27th. And if she missed reading the Bible on January 25th, she couldn't read the 25th again because today's the 27th. So instead of going backwards, she just waits a whole nother year to start it again and try for success the next year. Now she's 0 for 4 because she doesn't do math. So my question to you, because she said you're very detail oriented, and we had a bet on this. Are you someone that if you were reading and you missed a day or 2 days or 5 days because you got busy, being a teacher, being a mom, would you just stop reading altogether that book and start a new one?
I would not do that. I would probably like buckle down and do like catch up. Like, so if I miss like 4 days, like I would just read like those 4 days and then I'd be right back on track.
So hold on. What you're saying is you would need to get up to the right day in order to continue because on the 27th, you couldn't just read the 24th. You would need to get up to the 27th, correct?
I mean, I think it would bother me to look at the page like throughout the year if I didn't do catch up because I would be seeing like April 3rd, but it wasn't April 3rd. So that would bother me. But I don't tend to read books that have like dates and deadlines
Yeah,
in
but
them.
would
Like,
you wouldn't give it up for the year though and then just restart it next year because like that's Jen doesn't care about the catch up piece. Jen's like, I am done. Like if I miss 2 days, we're going till 365 next year.
no, because I have kind of like I don't know, a book addiction. So I have to like always have a book. And like I can't like start reading a book or read a book like after like 9 o'clock at night because then I won't be able to put it down. So like even as a kid, like I couldn't start a reading because I'd be like, up way past my bedtime. So I really have to pace myself. So yeah, so I could definitely catch up, and I would probably, yeah, I would want to know what was in it. So it's like that thirst for knowledge.
So what you're saying is it would bother you to not be on the correct date.
I
Yes
feel
or
like
no?
she could have been a lawyer.
She's
It's
trying.
just a yes or no question.
Hmm. Yes, but I would
Thank
not
you.
put it
No,
off for an
no.
entire year.
We just need a yes or no. Thank you.
She could have been a
Now,
lawyer.
moving on, I do want to give a shout out also to Joe's neighbor because apparently now, if you watched the episode last week, Joe made it seem like I was the only person who could possibly be bothered by such a thing. However, I am not. Because thankfully, Joe's neighbor, the little gem cherub that she is, I don't know her, but I've decided that she is, Let him know that what? What, Joe? What did she let you know?
She said, "Your first episode was great, I also have to say. I agree with your friend about the 1 year Bible. That literally happened to me that year when I tried it, and it bothered me when I didn't follow the days. So now I just read my Bible and do a devotional. She's not alone."
Not alone.
But do you realize what she did, right, though? She gave up the daily Bible verses and just read the Bible. She didn't put a date on it.
Well, I didn't put the whole Bible down. I just can't like not read the day that is the day. I can't.
Yeah,
I
I
can't.
understand. Because
And so,
definitely, once again, the stuff that happened yesterday is totally different than what happens today. So you don't want to miss out because Adam and Eve were there yesterday, but not today. They missed out today. So I
okay, great.
understand. All right.
Yeah, great.
Now to the
So
important
thank
stuff.
you, Joe's neighbor. Really appreciate you for taking, my side, which is the right side. Kathy also would be bothered. So I think what we found is that Joe is actually the minority here. Okay, well, thank you for covering that. Moving on now. So we also thought that there is something fun that we could put into our shows.
Oh, we're going to wait on that. We got to
Oh,
ask
we are?
Kathy the hard hitting questions about
Oh,
Machina
right.
memories.
Yes, I
Yeah.
forgot. I was so excited.
You're in charge of this and let's roll.
I
Come
know.
on.
All right. So Kathy,
Focus.
Kathy, you know us because you also lived in the metropolis of Messina. And so why don't you just give us a couple quick memories? And if you have one of those lovely mementos that your mother provided for you, maybe you can show us one.
Ooh, let's see. Memories of Messina. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
just general.
yeah, we all were, Madison Elementary alumni. And it took me a while until I was like an educator and maybe studying US history. I think we did those air raid drills well past when we probably should have been doing them at Madison Elementary. Like I was studying in US history and I was like, we probably could have stopped those. So I remember that. Making popcorn with Mr. Stout. Did you guys ever do that? Like that was like the primo job.
Yes, it was.
Our 15 minutes of computer time every week that we could do with Mr. Kojan. That was
Mr.
always
Kojan.
good.
And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, Mr. Kojan was really, really into computers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, almost weekly, he would tell the story about how there was this kid and he got mad at his parents. So he took a magnet and, like, wiped out everything. And so he was very particular that there was no magnets anywhere near his computer.
I'm
Do you
still
remember that?
worried about magnets near computers because of that story. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did you have Mr. Kojan or Mrs. Cross?
I had Mr. Kojan.
As did I.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that though.
You didn't?
No, I don't know
Oh
why.
my gosh. Do you remember when we were obviously we were in 6th grade and it was like towards the end of the year. And so they let us have like combined classes, a dance. And I brought my boombox. Boombox. And and so we had a combined dance for a little while. But then they also let us, like, we were having so much fun that they let us continue this dance, but not really dance, just like go outside and I think have recess and stuff like that. And then what happened was, I think they were doing something, they were not paying attention or something. So, Chad Sullivan and Brad Pelletier, I think it was Brad Pelletier. I'm pretty sure it was Brad Pelletier, got in a fight out on the baseball diamond. Like, a fight. Yeah. And that, like, ended all of our fun.
Oh man, I don't remember that at all.
That's because Jen was roughing, I think. She's
I
like,
was
I got
reading
this.
a book. I don't
got
know.
this. Yeah, you were in the corner reading a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Trying to
And
think,
Oh.
Messina memories, like square dancing in high school. I was just telling a student how we used to do mouser size to records, and I was like, you know what a
oh
record
yeah,
is, right?
that was more junior high, I think, unless you guys continued it in high school, but that was definitely junior high. I remember that.
We did the mouser size in elementary school, and then they would play a record for us to like memorize our math facts. And
Oh,
then we square danced into high school too. Yeah.
wow. Fancy. Boy, I missed a lot after ninth grade.
Yeah. Well,
So
you were
sad.
studying math. We were
I
square
was.
dancing.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you paid attention to that. There's some people on this call that are not great at math. I'm not going to say who. She did get sent back from Texas, though, just because
Oh,
of the math issues.
I did get a 98 on the 10th grade math regents. Thank you very much with Mr.
In,
Moore.
in Texas.
No, there's no regents in Texas. It was here.
So you took 10th grade math when? In 11th grade?
No, what happened was I was in Texas for 10th grade, but then when I came back here, in order to continue with regents, I had to take the 10th grade regents, even though I didn't take 10th grade math here.
Everything's coming together right now in terms of the books, the numbers, all of that. It makes complete sense. You don't need to even talk anymore about your math regents. I'm on board now. I got it. I know exactly where everything
Whatever,
happens.
Joe.
Ebbs and flows.
Whatever.
So Kathy, who was your favorite teacher of all time in Messina? Like could be elementary, could be middle school, high school. It can't be middle school, it's junior high, I guess. We called it junior high. It's middle school nowadays.
Hmm. I really liked Mrs. Seguin in fourth grade. I don't know if you guys had her, but we just did so many fun projects. Like we had Colonial Day and Western Day, and we walked down to the Homestead Dairy one day and got ice cream, and that was awesome. And I loved Mr. Lamson in the high school,
Mm,
like just doing all the plays and how much he cared about us and really like taught us so much about like music and life and just like getting out of our shells a little bit and performing on stage. I don't know if you guys ever had Mrs. Hayes for English. I loved her. She was I think I had her for ninth grade and then I had her again in 11th grade. She was an amazing English teacher. I really loved her too. So I think we're lucky that we have so many people that we can say like really helped like form and shape us into who we are.
Jen, who was your favorite teachers or teacher?
Well, I would have to say that Mrs. Seguin was there. I had two that were like amazing, and that was Mrs. Lantry and Mrs. Seguin, and they were back to back. Mrs. Lantry was third, and Mrs. Seguin was fourth. And I was in Mrs. Seguin's class actually when my dad passed away, so I was like 10 years old, and those two were just like unbelievable during that time. I remember that. So and plus like they just did so many cool things. Like Kathy said, like they did. Like Mrs. Lantry let me bring my no, Mrs. Seguin let me bring my hamster in to be our class pet, but then he kept escaping and he got into Mrs. Lantry's room and she came like bursting into our room because she was so afraid of it and it was running around in her room. And then, of course, there was Mrs. Keener. She was first grade. I loved her. Loved her so much. So, I don't know that I really have a favorite, but I agree with Kathy. Like there was a lot of really, really great people that, um, helped us along the way for sure.
Yeah,
Okay. Are you ready for my question?
we're ready now.
Okay. So sorry I jumped the gun, but I was so excited about this. So I have these great cards. They are called Questions for Humans. So we are going to do each week a little segment on questions for humans. So I have not chosen the card. I'm going to randomly choose a card and we will answer it. So here we go. Okay. What is your go-to gas station snack.
Well, mine right now is any kind of protein bar or protein snack or, beef jerky or something with tons of protein. I would say I probably lean more toward drinks at gas stations, so like Gatorade Zero or Ghost Energy drink, but I don't do the snacky stuff anymore because I'm away from that kind of stuff, away from that life.
What about you, Kathy?
I never buy food at a gas station. The only thing I order Subway for pickup through the app. That's it.
Well,
Are
what
there a lot of
about you're
Subways
on the
at gas
road?
stations?
You're on the road, you're
Yeah,
going on your
Crosby.
camping trip. You have to stop at a gas station. That's all there is.
We plan ahead and we pick one that has a Subway, and we order in the app, and then we pick it up.
So basically, Subway is our snack, no matter what the gas station is.
Yeah,
So
Crosby's or whatever. You can always find a gas station with a Subway. Yeah.
I've never even seen that.
Yeah.
Wow. What about you, Jen?
It's either cashews or cheese curds. If there's cheese curds, it's going to be cheese curds, but could be cashews. Yeah.
Cheese curds are like $7 at the gas station, like for
I
like
know.
two. They're the
I
most
know.
expensive thing at the gas station, more than a gallon of gas.
I know, but like you, I mean, I don't want to get like a chocolate bar or something like that. And cheese is, you know, always good and has some protein in it and will last a little while. So that's what I go for.
And you grew up in farm country, so like cheese is that up there. Like you had a lot of cheese, a lot of milk, a lot of dairy.
Cheese
So understandable.
curds.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
And bonus points if they're squeaky.
What?
You
I don't
don't
know
know
that.
this?
I don't know that. No.
I know
Okay,
this.
well,
What is
if
it?
the, when you bite them, they squeak. That means they're good.
What? What?
They're fresher that way. Like they're almost like when they come off like the cheese curd assembly line. So I take a lot of classes, Joe. So I actually went to like a farm,
Cheese
like an
curd
Amish
class?
farm. It was dairy, how to make like ice cream and stuff. But they took us to this dairy farm, and then after that, we went to an Amish like dairy producer. So we had cheese curd like right off the assembly line, and it's just like I don't know, a little slimy when it's like right off, but squeaky. So I know exactly what you mean.
Means it's fresh.
Yep, the best.
And of course, it's not a gas station snack, but we do have to mention, since we're talking about, stuff. Joe went up to Messina and I said, Joe, bring me some glacier hot dogs. And he did.
It did.
We met at Chili's. He had this little soft side lunchbox. He's like, I brought you a gift. I opened it up and there was glacier hot dogs. If you have not been to the North Country, you do not know anything about glacier hot dogs and you absolutely don't know what you're missing. Love them.
I'm not so sure. Swaggles
Okay.
are great. Swaggles are great.
I don't eat hot dogs unless it's a glacier hot dog. That's it.
Fair enough.
Okay, so our topic for the week. Joe, take it away.
You had me memorize this. So our topic of the week is we want to discuss when we knew, all three of us, you and the audience. Feel free to leave comments, in the podcast when you're watching or listening to it. But when did you know that your parents had no clue what they were doing? When did you realize that? So for me, I'll start it since I'm asking it, and I've kind of had some time to think about it. Um, for me, it was actually after I had kids because changing that first diaper, I had no clue what I was doing. Like I wore a mask, I wore like a shopping bag on my head, gloves. Like I didn't want none of that nonsense. But I think even before that, like going through childbirth and understanding how to handle a baby and you know be in there as a husband for this small infant coming into the world, and how do you feed them? How do you change them? What do you like? There's no training. You didn't go to school for that. Nobody taught you how to do that. You didn't pass a regent's exam for that. So, just starting being a parent for me was when I realized, like, holy crap, like, how did my parents do this, right? Because at least I have like Google that I can look up, like, how to change a baby, like, go gadget Google. Um, yeah, so that was mine. I don't know about you guys.
I'm gonna say probably when I was an adult too. It's hard to say. I always kind of thought my mom knew what she was doing. I will say that perhaps my child's advanced because I think sometimes even as a fourth grader, she's got a clue that I'm not quite so sure what I'm doing at all times. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of live with you, Joe. Like you have to get a license to drive a car, but they just like make you watch a couple informational videos and then send you home with this like baby, which is a huge responsibility. Um, but I also think like our parents had more of like a support network in that like people, grew up in Messina, lived in Messina, didn't really stay, too far away. So you had
Right.
lots of aunts, uncles, cousins, and everybody kind of like showed you the way. It takes a village. Whereas now, like as a society, we're more spread out. So we don't really have that network of, a bunch of aunties and grandmas and cousins to help out. How
Yeah, I
about you,
think that
Jen?
that's a great point. So I was in my family I was number 6. So by the time I came along, they definitely had it all figured out. Like I never ever ever thought that they didn't know what they were doing. But like you guys, when I had kids of my own, I was like, what? I didn't know what to do. Um, Now I I will say that like one time when Preston was just a little guy and he was sick and I didn't know what to do. Like he was real sick and um so like I called my mom and I was trying to handle it all on my own, but I was absolutely just exhausted. And so I called my mom. I'm like, "Help me. I don't know what to do." Like um but like you, Kathy, like my daughter, she calls me out. Like if she knows I don't know what I'm doing, she's like, "Okay, this is not right." Or, "Mom, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not," like, and she'll look things up. Like I'll tell her things and she'll look it up and she'll be like, "No, no, okay." So, like, but again, we're in this, information age where everything's at our fingertips. So, like, fake it till you make it doesn't really always work, And so I think our parents, even if they were faking it, how would we know? If they did a really good job at it, then how would we know? So yeah, like my
Yeah, I think
my
I think you sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think you and I were talking the other day, like, when we were kids, it was like, don't get in the van with the stranger. Have a safe word if your mom or dad or, somebody
Mhm.
comes to pick you up, right? Like, you'll know it's your mom's friend if they say dog, and you're like, all right, are you my mom's friend? Yes, dog. Okay, you can get in the car. And nowadays, like, you're trying to stop kids from getting on social media or accepting friend requests from people they don't know. I mean, that's the van, right? That's the van or the person that's not supposed to pick you up. And I think like navigating that for us, because even if you think when we're a kid, like when we were a kid, we were playing outside. We were out until it was dark. There was, we had TV, but it was Friday night, family night, right? Like come home, Full House, Family
Circle.
Matters, Urkel, yeah, right? So and now it's iPads, tablets. There was no in between. Like the cell phones came out when we were getting close to like the end of high school, college. Computers started coming out, and now it's like full fledged. Like can't live without it. What's great is my daughter coaches that team I was talking about earlier, and I mean she literally has them put their phones away when we're doing team building activities because she's like, you guys have to get to know each other. Like you don't get to know each other by snapping each other and doing like put it away. Um, and they all get a little frustrated, but it's great because it's great to see them interact in a way that's not on social media, right? So social
Yeah.
media is great. It's brought us all back together. It's brought, when we talk a little bit before we go about the Messina, reunion stuff, like it's great for those purposes, but it's very scary as a parent. And when you look back, like our scariness was like, don't get picked up by a stranger. And it's happening every day right now just through social media. So, I mean, even that's scary to navigate.
Yeah, and it's like you're you think about like when you were a kid, right? And I lived on North Main Street and I would, get on my bike and drive up to Pine Street, to Lori St. Thomas's house. And then when we left there, like nobody knew where we were. Like, holy cow. I can't imagine not knowing where my kids are. Like, I can pull up my phone right now and tell you exactly where my son is. Ella goes and rides her bike just like she can only go in front of the house here. And she still has an air tag. Like I just, but again, like it's a different world. There's different, there's different vans. And plus there's still vans. There's still vans, but then there's different vans. And and so like it's just crazy to me that like our parents were just able to trust us and off we went, you know. It's it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I
I
do
don't
think that like the media and just the access to information that we have, like we hear about all of the potential things that could go wrong and could happen that we just didn't know about when we were kids because we just didn't have all that information. Our parents didn't. So now, like, you hear about one story and you're like, oh my gosh, that could happen here, and I need to prepare. Like, so I think maybe the information has made us more anxious about all of the potential things that could happen as well.
Yeah, and I think like even looking back and comparing Rochester and Messina, right? Like Messina back then to us probably was nice and easy and everybody got along. There wasn't, there quote unquote wasn't drugs or alcohol issues, right? But there was, we just didn't know about it, right? And now Messina gets just as much news and media coverage as Rochester sometimes, if you just go on social media pages, right, in terms of what's going on up north. So it's amazing to me that we survived and that we're here to talk about it based on like obviously the world's changed too, right? It's very much more chaos now, probably than when we were kids, and the information and technology and all that stuff is making it harder for our kids. Easier at the same time, but harder in terms of safety and well-being. I mean, to this day, my kids are 21 and 18, and I'm more of a train wreck when they're going out and doing things than I am when they were 3 and 4. Just because turning on the TV and seeing what happened in Rochester last night, and or reading on social media about these women being followed in Walmart or Wegmans. Oh, speaking of Wegmans, some women followed some other women that I just know about. Yeah. So anyhow, I don't know
I've
how that
heard of
keeps
that
coming up.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how that keeps coming up, but somehow it just enters every conversation.
And you
Uh,
you think it's going to happen at Walmart, but never like Wegmans or Target,
yeah.
right? Like you would expect it there, but
Yeah. Hopefully Walmart will want to sponsor this podcast at one point in time. Shout out Walmart. Uh, Yeah, so yeah, I would say from, learning about being a parent was really starting from scratch and faking it till you make it. And thank God we had some technology to help us. But on the back end of that, I think it makes it very difficult to raise kids today.
So, have you found that like all these potential things, right? And you have to educate your kids about potential things that can happen, but you also have to like make sure that you don't like scare them to death. Like it's like tempered stranger danger or something, because it's like I want my child to be able to feel like they can be outgoing and, be friendly and polite and things like that. But at the same time, like I also, want them to realize that not everybody's your friend. And so, finding the right way to tell your kids about that is, it's a tricky balance because, especially like depending on how emotional your child is too, like, you know, with Preston, I was terrified because I knew that if somebody pulled up and said, "I'm your mom's friend," he would go. I knew it. I just knew it. And so I had to be a little more aggressive with him. But Ella, she doesn't trust anybody. She's her mother's child. So, yeah, she's not having it. You will not pull anything past her. So, it's a little bit different, but she is very emotional. So I do have to be careful about what I let her know and what I let her see and things like that because I don't want to hide too much from her, but I also need to make sure that, she's 10 years old and, make sure that she doesn't have to like have an anxiety attack over something that maybe she doesn't really need to know about yet. So anyway.
And you have young ones too, right, Kathy?
I have one daughter. She's 9, so she's a year younger than Jen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Jen's
a
daughter,
total.
Ella.
Yeah, so you guys waited a long time to have kids because you guys are pushing 50, right? 55, 60?
Oh no,
Just
you might
checking.
be, but
I'm I'm close.
we were advanced academically, but not age-wise. So
I'm 29. I've been 29. I will stay 29. I'm 29
Got it.
I'm 32.
and
Got it.
holding.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we're
Yeah. So the one thing I do want to say though is it was super cool to have Kathy here and to have her perspective. And we want to, of course, have you come back whenever you'd like. But also, we want to have a variety of people come and, share their perspectives and chat with us. But so thank you very much for joining us.
yeah,
And
Oh,
Kathy,
thanks
Joe,
for having me.
are you gonna come home for the Messina Super? What is it called again? I always forget the name.
mega
Mega
reunion.
Mega reunion. Are you going home for that?
I am not sure. It depends on like the official date because I know they were doing like another survey. Like at first it was going to be 4th of July, and then didn't it go to like the weekend of like the 21st or the 25th, something around that?
Yeah, I think the
What
vote
are,
is the beginning and then the last weekend, I think.
yeah. I guess it would depend on the dates. Like I still have family there, so I don't have to worry about a hotel room or anything like that. If you are going to get a hotel room, we stayed at the one on the reservation, and that was nice.
At the
It was like a
casino?
date. Yeah, is it a La Quinta or it's some chain? Days Inn maybe, I don't know. It was nice.
So if it's the 4th, are you gonna go up, or if it's the later? What did you vote for?
I voted for the earlier. That works better for me. But
Yeah, so did we, I think, right? Did you, Jen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 It was
Yeah. Because
shocking that they
that's,
changed it and sent out another survey, but yeah, I think we voted for early too.
yeah. And I really hope it is because that's going to really work out well. And, I mean, it's a holiday weekend. I get it, but it's an easy way to travel too. So,
Yeah.
and it's always nice to be in the North Country for like the 4th of July. There's like so much going on. Like you can go
Mhm.
to like Thompson Park and see like that's in Watertown, but see the Orchestra of Northern New York. They usually do a show in Potsdam. There's like fireworks over Bolt Castle. So like you really can do quite a bit if you're in like the region. Like if you're gonna make the trip, like really do it up.
Yeah.
so I'm
Um,
going to make sure that Kathy goes.
yeah, that's not shocking. So she's gonna pull up in a van and say, Kathy, do you want some candy? The secret word is dog. Get in
I know.
here.
I'm gonna
And
say, are you my mom's friend?
and she's gonna be like,
I'm
I'm
going to call
everybody's friend.
Connie and say, Connie, what's the word?
Right. Oh, I should have said your mom's my favorite teacher. That would have been a good
Aw.
answer. I don't
Aw.
even know if I ever had her as a teacher. I just remember your mom always being in school, and especially she was at the junior high, right?
Junior high and then the senior high.
Yeah, so she was in junior high when I was, because I always remember like we would go to her room for stuff only because we knew you. So it was like,
Yeah.
we know Kathy, we're gonna go see Kathy's mom. Um, so that's what I remember. I mean,
That's the fun part about like social media. Like a couple of people have reached out. Like they aren't necessarily like friends with my mom, but kind of like so I work in special education and my mom's a reading specialist. So it's kind of nice like when people reach out and say like the impact that like she had on their lives too. And you know how she really helped them learn to read, and like without her like and her support, like they wouldn't be where they are today. And that's really
awesome.
awesome, because I think
Yeah.
like a lot of times like when you kind of work in the special education field, like you're not necessarily the teachers that get like all the kudos. A lot of times when you work at the upper level, people like want to pretend they don't know you but love you, right? So it's really cool to have people reach out and
That is
share
very
with
cool.
me, which then I share with her like the impact that she had.
Very cool. And she's still up there? She's still north?
Yep.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, Kathy, for joining us. Probably from now until close to July, we'll try to have one or two guests from Messina on to kind of really pipe up the mega reunion. Did I do it right that time? The mega reunion. All right.
You did.
Jen actually wants to. What she said last time is super excited how weird it would be to see people that you dated in different classes, I believe is the term. She goes, not her, but other people potentially running into
No,
people that.
I definitely dated people in other years.
No, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm saying you didn't want to run into people that you dated in other years.
Oh,
But
yeah, no, I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah. So she's good. But just in
I
case,
mean, can you take the show on the road and do a podcast
that's the
broadcast
plan.
from the
That's the
reunion?
plan. Yeah,
Like,
that's the plan.
That
think
is
of all the
absolutely
people.
fine. Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely the plan. We're going to try to shoot something while we're up there, if it works out for the weekend. If it's not the 4th of July weekend, I won't be able to go because I'll be coaching during the weekend. That's the opposite weekend. We'll be in that weekend. We'll be in Binghamton. So it's unfortunate because we really, I really want to go up because social media has been great to me and I've been able to connect with a lot of people. And I said last time on the podcast that we were trying to get the group of us, the Rochester Messina group, together over the holidays, but people seem to be busy. I don't understand. It's all you youngins having these young kids. You didn't start early enough to have these old kids where they can time to do their own things. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to do that even if we can't do the reunion maybe sometime this summer when you guys aren't teaching and working 450 jobs. We can get together and reconnect because I think it's been so cool. And even Jen, I know you and I both got a lot of feedback from our first episode from people from Messina that was like it's just nice to see you know people connecting and bringing this to life. And then the flip side of that is like, well, every show can't be about Messina. And I'm like, no, it's just let's focus on it for a couple months and get us to July. And we were going to do these every other week, and it seems like there's some taking to it. So it might be a weekly thing that we're doing, and not necessarily have guests every week, but we got some great topics. And well, just want to thank you again. Appreciate it for coming on and spending the evening with us, talking nonsense, right?
Thanks for
Yeah, and
being on my side.
just to clarify, no restraining order.
Oh, she froze. It's the
You did
perfect
that.
time.
You
We'll
That's the
did
see.
that.
perfect time. She froze. I love it. And she froze, and it's there. With that being said, we're going to close the show. Thanks for joining us again for the Reality Check podcast. That's Jen. I'm Joe. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube or any of your podcast needs, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for joining us. So we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.